Welcome to B Plus Overland, where we share with you all of the upgrades and changes we've made to our B Plus RV for full-time off-grid living and a trip down the Pan American Highway from Alaska to Argentina. Ours is a 2021 LTV Wonder rear twin bed. That's the B Plus in the back, and it's built upon a 2020 Ford Transit 350 HD cutaway van with rear dually wheels. Come check it out. I'm going to share with you how we use a tire pressure monitoring system to keep an eye on all of our individual tires and their pressure and their temperature, and also how we use our onboard air to inflate them. Well, I'm going to start with the TPMS system. That's the tire pressure monitoring system. In choosing the unit we have, we read a lot of forums on Facebook groups. There seemed to be a couple of companies that had nice units. We ended up going with a company called TST. We used their 507 unit, which is wireless, it's rechargeable, and it sits right on the dash, and I can see everything I need. So how do we use this? Well, the main thing that I do is every time we're going to hit the road, I do a check on our vehicle. I look underneath, I check the windows, I check things are strapped down, the surfboard's on, and I check the tire pressures. In the old days, before I had this, I had to go and check 6 different tires. No big deal, but now that I've got this installed, all I do is turn it on. It takes 2 minutes to get the communication going, and then I just take a look at the screen and scroll through each tire, and I can see exactly where they are. So how do we use the TPMS system when we're rolling down the road? Well, that is where the real peace of mind kicks in. So let me back up before I jump into this and explain that you need to program the TPMS and tell it what your target tire pressure is. So in the front we run at 80, so 80 is our target, and in the back we run all 4 tires at 65 pounds. So we program that in. It knows on the graphic display that the 2 front ones should be at 80 and the 4 on the display should be at 65. So additional things that we're programming are what is our tolerance for low pressure and our tolerance for overpressure. So for low pressure, we want to be notified if we go more than 10% of our target pressure below. So that's to say, if we on 80 pounds, if we lost 8 pounds or more, or went down to 72 pounds or less, we want to know about it. For overpressure, we've programmed in at 25%. So tires get hot, the air expands, and the pressure can increase greatly. So that's why it's so much more for the high pressure alarm than the low pressure. So at 20, let's see, running at 80, 25% of 80 is 20. So we want to know if our pressure goes up more than 20 pounds. That is, did we go over 100 pounds? If so, we want to know about it. It also is monitoring temperature. Tire temperature can be a telltale sign of issues you're having and need to be attended to. So you want to know if your tires are running too hot. It is pre-programmed, I believe, at 157 or 158 degrees Fahrenheit. And if your temperature of your tire exceeds that, it's going to notify you. So what are the 2 modes? So as I'm driving down the road, these sensors on each individual tire, every 2 minutes, sends the current information. Here's the temperature and here's the current pressure. And every 2 minutes this unit is displaying that. If I wanted to know, I could just look down, and it keeps tabs on, is it trending, is the pressure going down or is the pressure going up? And the little computer monitors that for me. So if I exceed one of these and it's been monitoring it happening nice and slow, like a slow leak, it'll tell me that, hey, I've got a slow leak, I'm under pressure, and the tire on the display will flash, and I'm like, oh, it's my left front tire, and I'm down to 71 pounds. I need to pull over whenever I can and put some air in. It's not an emergency, but I need to take care of it. Same thing goes for overpressure. If the pressure just keeps going up and up and up, and it finally exceeds 100 pounds in front, I get a warning and says, hey, you've got a slow increase on your pressure. Same thing, I need to find out why that's happening, pull over at my next opportunity.
And the same goes with temperature. If the temperature's ramping up slowly, it will warn me, and I'm in a non-emergency situation, I find a good opportunity to pull over. The one that can be really helpful and a real lifesaver, literally, is the emergency mode. Is if something happens really fast, like you've lost all the pressure, like you had a blowout, or 50% of the pressure just blew out of your tire, and you weren't really sure what's going on, and this thing doesn't wait 2 minutes. It immediately sends an emergency signal. The thing starts making all kinds of racket, and it's telling you you've got a major issue and you need to stop, like, now. That's super helpful. If you've got a tire that has lost a lot of air because you've got a puncture and you don't get over on the side of the road, you could just rip it apart, and then it's not repairable. I mean, we carry a full repair kit on board, and if it's a small enough hole and it's not in the sidewall, we're hoping that we could replace, that is, fix it. If we keep going down the road like, oh, I wonder what that is, we could ruin the tire, and we're going to have to buy a new one. So also, just for safety, if you lose a tire, especially in the back, and as heavy as we are, we want to know about it immediately. We want to slow down, and we want to maintain control of the situation and get off the road. Okay, so just some tips on how do I install this and what do I need in addition to a kit from TST. So to begin with, you got to get rid of the nylon valve stems that came on your rims. These only work with metal valve stems. So there's really only one company to go to that I found, and it's Borg. Look them up. They're in California. I ended up sending them an email with all of my information on my vehicle, VIN number, tire size, the types of rims that I had, just everything, and they were able to cross-reference everything, and they're like, hey, you just need this, this, and this. It was super simple. They're not expensive. I think each one was maybe $7. And I'll show you what those look like. On the front, they're not too long. They go right into the rim here. When you receive them, they're straight, and when they're installed, they're put in, and then they're bent by the installer very carefully, not on a sharp edge, but on a rounded edge, and that's how you end up with this curvature. In the back, the outside one's pretty much the same, but the inside one on the steel rims is super long. And I think it's on the other side. I've actually put a piece of rubber here because I don't want the stem hitting the metal on my rim and causing wear and eventually wearing through the stem. So with metal valve stems, I mean, they're on semi-trucks and big heavy dump trucks and industrial vehicles. You don't see them on light trucks much or RVs. There's just no need, but the TPMS system requires them. So when you go to a tire center, when we got our system installed, at the same time we got our larger all-terrain tires put on, we found that nobody in the facility, and this was a big one, really knew what to do with them, and I had to kind of give them instructions on, no, they go in this, and there's a backer, and this is how you do it. And I knew this because I read the instructions and watched some videos, and I had to make sure that they didn't bend them on a 90-degree corner, that they used a rounded surface, and I just kept a close eye. Luckily, they allowed me to be back in the garage when they were doing this. So, make sure you know what's required with these. Make sure you clearly communicate it to it, and then you talk to the installer, not the manager who took your order at the counter, but you go back and you talk to the guy who's actually doing the work and make sure they understand what they're doing. So next is the installation of the sensors, the sending units on the tires. They have two types. One is a cap type, just like you would cap off a valve stem. It's like a mushroom. I didn't get those because if you want to add air, you got to take that off and then hook the air up. I got the pass-through ones, and I'll show you what they look like. And these screw right on the end of the Borgs, and I've already taken, because I was putting air in, I've got the cap in my pocket, and the cap goes on here. So this is the sending unit. It has a really small battery inside of it that lasts about a year. And if you need to add air, you just simply put air on it, and it passes right through the sensor. It makes it super easy. To make sure you don't lose your sensor, or they're a little on the expensive side, they don't get permanently borrowed. There is a lock nut on the back, and you use this tool that comes with the TPMS system to lock that on. So an unsuspecting person would be like trying to take this off and they don't understand why it won't budge. There's this almost hidden nut in the back that keeps them locked and keeps them from falling off as you're going down the road. So inside, our unit is attached to the dash here with Velcro. Just a couple of strips, and it just sits on this little shelf, and I just keep it plugged in to the USB plug here, and that keeps it recharged. It's a lithium battery, and it'll last days, has been our experience. So in terms of the unit's readout, if I had a semi-truck, I would have tires, green tires illuminated back here, but all you're going to see is my 2 front tires, left and right, and then my 4 rear tires, left and right. The tire that is flashing is the one I'm getting information for. I can see that the tire temperature, we're up in the mountains right now, 54, and my target for my rear wheels is 65 pounds, and my front is 80. I can see, again, cooler temperatures. I'm running 78, and I can run through these. I can, instead of waiting for it, when I get started in the morning, I'll just kind of hit the plus button and it'll just run me through. So I'm at, let's see, starting with the front, I'm at 78 on the left front, I'm at 78 on the right front, left rear outside is 63. I want it to be 65, that's fine. 64 on the inside one, the other inside is 64 and 63, and my temperatures are all 54. Most of these other buttons just have to do with programming, and if I were to have an issue, this would have an audible alarm that it's not too loud, but you can't miss it, and the tire that's having a problem will start flashing. I can see the real-time information, and in red it would tell me, do I have a fast leak, do I have a slow leak, do I have a temperature going up really fast or slow, and tells me exactly what is going on with the tire that's flashing. And if I had issues with more than one tire, I could again scroll through them and see what the specific message is. So this is wireless, and it talks to all 6 tires wirelessly, but it's a long way to the back tires, and so the kit comes with a repeater. I didn't install it at first, and what I found was the back tires weren't always connecting. So as we move back through our rig, our rear wheels are basically in this area right here, so I wanted to get the repeater as close as possible. So what I ended up doing is I just simply removed this panel. I mounted it inside. We have a monitor over here for carbon monoxide and gases. See, carbon monoxide and LP. So I was able to just run a wire over to here because it's a very low draw, and I just tapped into the supply here, which is a constant supply, and anytime the house power is on, the repeater that's mounted in there is on. So moving on to deflating and inflating tires. I'll start with deflating. When we spent 4 months in Baja, Mexico, and we were often in the sand or on sandy roads or on washboards, which all made us want to air down for better traction or just for a better, smoother ride on the washboard. In doing that, you can go around to all 6 tires and hold your finger on the valve and let it out. but it takes a long time, especially when you're starting with a tire at 90 pounds. So just passing along a little trick: when you're airing down, you can pick these up. There are 4 little barrels that screw together, and you take one off and you put it on the valve stem and screw it down. Then all of a sudden, it's hollow, and all of a sudden, psh, it lets the air out so much faster. And the thing is, you can attach 4 of them at once. So once the first 2 tires are down, you can move these to the last, tire number 5 and number 6, and you can get all 6 tires down pretty quickly. And what I found is, I think the front was a count of 1 minute and 15 seconds, and the back, because they were a lower pressure, might have been a count of 55. So I could just time it and know when I had to stop deflating them. And then I would just hook my tire gauge up and decide if I needed to let a little bit more out. So our deflation on the front, we could go down. I think we never went past maybe 35 pounds, maybe 30. That makes them pretty big and bulbous. In the back, we've got the dualies. They're pretty close together because we have larger tires now. I don't believe we went below 50, maybe 45, but we did it so that they were just a tiny bit of room in between the tires. So moving on to inflation and onboard air. Well, how did you get to the point where you had built-in air? Well, we started with a Vi air, which comes in its own bag, and we store it in the back. And if we needed it, which is more often than you would think, we'd get it out and plug it in and run the hose and put it away. And it was a quality product, and it worked at high pressures. But when we added a ARB air locker, that's a locking rear differential, it's actuated by compressed air, so we had to have a built-in air compressor. So I'll show you that. We ended up getting rid of the Vi air, and we installed a ARB onboard air system. The installation is done in the engine compartment, and where it is right down here. The blue part is the compressor. This is the air tank, and then we have 2 hoses coming off of this. One goes to the air locker in the back, and one goes to an airport on the side where our generator is. And then way down there you can see we've got some silver cloth. It's self-adhesive, and that was put over the air lines that I led aft, because they were so close to the exhaust manifold. It gets so hot, I needed to have some thermal protection down there. From the tire well, it basically, there's a flat space that I mounted the compressor on, and this is the backing plate for the compressor. So I drilled 4 holes, put this backing plate, and mounted it right on here on the other side. Pretty straightforward installation. So in terms of the outlet, I ran the airline all the way back, and this spot right above our propane access auxiliary connection, I located an ARB outlet. It's really nice in that it's a one-handed. You just take it and push the hose on and it locks, and then to release it, you just push this collar down with one hand and it pops off. So how do I turn the air on? I'll show you. This is installed on the driver's side inside. So right here I've got 2 ARB switches. The first one is to turn the air compressor on, and you should be able to hear that. And now it's up to pressure. And then this one, if we needed to engage the rear locker and we were going up some super steep or unstable road, we would hit this, and it would send an air back to the locking rear differential and lock both wheels together and give us tremendous traction. So what do I carry with us in terms of air hose? I keep this bag in the back, and I've got this hose. I think it's a 50-foot hose. It's plenty long. These you can get on Amazon. It's a digital reader. You just hook it to the hose and just run around and fill it up, and you get your readout right there in pounds. And then this has nothing to do with our tires, but if you're cleaning the van and you're trying to get the dust and the grime out of some corners you can't reach, man, hook it to this hose and go through the inside, and you can blow everything out, and then it comes, lands on the floor, and you can sweep the van out, and you can get into those deep corners. Little added bonus. So what's it actually like to hook the hose up? Well, as I said earlier, you just press, whoop, little camera mishap there, open this dust cap, one-handed, boom. I can hear the compressor coming on. It's energizing my, my line. And then next, all I have to do is hook that on, and then I can just simply walk around. And I've got these already off. And I can just hook this up, press the button, get a real-time reading. So we're about 1.5 years in of having both the TPMS system and the compressor at the same time. It's a great marriage. The TPMS system, what a great investment. Super happy with it. Getting out on the road is made faster in the morning by just flicking it on and checking your tire pressures. There's been a couple of times that we've been on the road and we hear something bang, and we're like, what was that? And man, the first thing I do is I go to the TPMS and I scroll through all 6 tires real quick and check that the pressures are up. And it's like, okay, we're safe to keep rolling. I don't know what it was. We hit something. We're good. We'll check it the next time we stop. Really good to know instantaneously that your tires are in good shape, and if there is a problem, is it a slow problem that you can take care of later, or boom, is it something you need to stop right now? I really love that. The air compressor, man, is that convenient. It doesn't take any of the space up that the Air takes up, but it is a small compressor, so when you're trying to get tires up to 80 pounds, that little compressor is going to struggle, and it'll take a little extra time, but it gets there. And I'm happy with it.